think I'm hitting that little divot, you know, that they say. I mean, I'm just, you know, questioning everything that I do type shit, and you know, really wondering what it's all for type shit, and really, you know, trying to see the results in health is wealth. 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 All right, so today we're back talking about health is wealth. And the name of the game for today is logic. Logic. What is logic? What is logic to me? Logic in the context of a person refers to the ability to think, reason, and draw conclusions in a systematic and rational manner. It involves the capacity to analyze information, make sound judgments, and apply consistent principles of reasoning. Logical thinking is a cognitive skill that allows individuals to evaluate arguments, solve problems, and navigate complex situations based on the structure of it or the orderly approach. Some of those may include reasoning skills, critical thinking, analytical abilities, consistency, problem solving, decision making, effective communication, understanding cause and effect, avoiding logical fallacies. I'm hoping I said that right. And then we got scientific and mathematical reasoning, learning and adaptation. And if you ask me, this list continues to just go just like any other list. You know what I'm saying? So at number 1, we're gonna start with reasoning and skill, right? Reasoning and skill. Logic involves the ability to engage in logical reasoning, which is the process of drawing conclusions from the premises, right, or evidence. It includes deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, and abductive reasoning. So reasoning skill without all those freaking weird ass words, right? Reasoning skill to me is exactly what it is, like your skills within reasoning, and not, I wouldn't say just reasoning within yourself, but reasoning internally and externally, because like I said in previous videos, you got to be able to decipher from internal and external, right? So your external reasoning, which means reasonings with those around you, right? Or else who else would you be reasoning with, right? If no one else is there, you would just be internally reasoning, right? So depending on the individuals that you're dealing with and how many individuals you are dealing with, your reasoning externally will look very different depending on who you're dealing with, right? So today I'm gonna focus on your internal reasoning, how I internally reason with myself. And I usually try to keep emotion out of it, because whenever I put emotion into logical reasoning, it mathematically probably not gonna work. So just try to keep emotion out of it. I know, you know, we are humans, we do make mistakes. We are honestly sometimes always fueled with emotion, or else what would be our purpose in life, right? We're not just fucking robots. But ask yourself a series of questions that basically break down the situation into a understandable sequence, you know what I'm saying? And whenever you do this, some good questions could be, well, what caused this to happen? You know what I mean? First off, does taking me out of this situation change the whole dynamic, or does it even affect it at all? You know what I mean? So you got to understand what role you play in this logical reasoning, you know what I mean, to be able to build on your reasoning skills, and just overall try to get the whole like gist of the situation you're dealing with. You know, all situations are different. I'm just giving you my personal opinion on how I would break down reasoning skill internally with myself. You see what I'm saying? I really think another good question would be, because not all situations are firsthand. You know, someone could come to you and ask for, you know, your 2 cents on the matter. You see what I'm saying? So another good question would be, if I were them, how would you have handled the situation, as opposed to how they have handled it? You know what I'm saying? So like, My mom always told me there's three sides to a story. There's your side, there's my side, and then there's there's the one looking in. But I'm gonna be honest with you, shit, there could be more than fucking 5 sides to a story depending on who's telling it. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to being able to be as logical as possible, bro, you can only interpret so many things from your perspective. You know what I mean? It's always good to go get additional perspectives to see, to try to get down to the real like logistics of things. You see what I'm saying? And this could just sound like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo to you, but it's okay. Just stick with me, right? Focus, right? And number 2, we have critical thinking, right? And that kind of goes really good with my internal reasoning that I was talking about previous. Critical thinking, logical thinking accompanied with critical thinking is closely tied together, which involves evaluating information, identifying assumption, and assessing the validity and reliability of the argument, right? So you basically want to assess the situation and see who the reliable parties are, like who can give you reliable information on the situation for you to be able to critically think logically about the situation. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, put it this way, right? There's very few businesses that can truly operate on their own, right? So if you're someone who deals with like selling, like sales, right? First of all, you're gonna have to deal with the manufacturer. You're gonna have to deal with at least a couple different people to be able to get to your end goal, right? Logically and critically think about, in chronological order, how these things transpired to give you your ending result. You know what I mean? And remember, the name of the game is logic, right? You want everything you do, everything you think about to pertain in the bubble of logic, right? Because when in doubt, logic it out. It's a lot more safer. And that's why I try to say, do your best to keep your emotion out of things, because our emotions tend to sometimes control us, not for the better, you know what I mean? But simply for how we truly just feel about the overall matter. You know what I mean? And I'm not telling you to ignore that. All I'm trying to say is be able to decipher from emotional and logical standpoints. You know what I mean? And viewpoints. So, and number 3, we have analytical abilities, right? Analytical abilities. Logical individuals possess strong analytical skills, right? They can break down complex problems into manageable parts, right? Analyze patterns and identify relationships between the different elements and patterns, right? So being in that, and that's kind of a crazy thing, being able to actually identify relationships and patterns then starts to help you see the consistencies in the situation to either replicate that or diffuse it. You know what I mean? Just stop it in its tracks because it's unnecessary and unneeded to you. See what I'm saying? You really just got to understand what you truly want out of your analytical abilities and and your logic, really. I would say everyone's logic is different and is based off their perception and how they view the situation at hand or the task at hand or even the product at hand, you know what I mean? What may be a logical product for you may not be a logical product for me, you know what I mean? There's some times where, and it could be just the timing of things. You know, the time that you may hear about this, it may not have sounded logical, but whenever you hear it at a further date with prior experiences, it sounds a little bit more logical. So you really, like, there is no right or wrong. Well, there is no right or wrong perception of logic because we're all individuals. And I know that's kind of a controversial thing to say, but to be honest with you, if I'm telling you what I view as logic and you're telling me what you view as logic, and they're two opposite things, neither one of us can tell each other we're wrong. You know what I mean? Because both of us feel that we're right. You see my point? And you can't really like physically change someone's opinion. You know what I mean? Now, you can factually change someone's opinion based off facts. You can disprove their logic. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you can't actually change someone's viewpoint or opinion. So, you know, it's a little touchy for some of you guys, you know what I'm saying? And number 4, we have consistency. Consistency. Logical thinking requires consistency in thought and action, right? Logical individuals strive to avoid contradictions in their beliefs and actions, ensuring that their reasoning follows a coherent and non-contradictory path. Yes, that is why I say, depending on the viewer, things can be very inconsistent, things can be very contradictory, because now something can be viewed as logic to you, and your consistent way of thinking is what got you to this standpoint and viewpoint, right? But you know, if the goal is to be able to change your audience's view on how they view logic to how you view logic, your best way to do that is factual based. You know what I mean? You have to have cold hard facts that prove to the opposing party or opposing person on why your logic trumps theirs, and why maybe their logic is actually very illogical. You know what I mean? So do your best on trying to be as precise as possible whenever you're trying to basically explain your logistics and your viewpoint to an opposing party. You see what I'm saying? So at number 5, right, we have problem solving. Logic is an essential for effective problem solving. It involves identifying the nature of a problem, analyzing possible solutions, and selecting the most appropriate course of action based on evaluation. So, problem solving. What does that mean? Well, first of all, you gotta understand what problem we're solving, right? Because, and I sound like a broken record always repeating myself, but depending on what the problem is, you will have different solving technique, right? Obviously, if the problem is cleaning, cool, go get some cleaning products, let's get this shit taken care of. But if the problem is trying to build revenue in your business, it's not gonna look, you know what I mean? It's gonna look totally different. You're gonna have to hit a totally different angle with it. You're gonna have to do totally different research than when you do research for cleaning. So you gotta understand the problem at hand, right? Do your best to get a group of people that don't always agree with you. You know, you want to see different opinions, right? So you can better or find better factual evidence that backs up your logical reasoning. You see what I'm saying? Basically what I'm trying to say is, you don't always want to make things easy on yourself. You don't want to get a group of people who all agree with you, because then if they all agree with you, then why the fuck do you need them? You see what I'm saying? You probably want to find people who question you, who probably don't always agree with you, make you basically reiterate or just like double down on why you have this viewpoint and not this viewpoint. You see what I'm saying? So any person that's better at proving themselves factually is probably gonna have the upper hand here. You see what I'm saying? So at number 6, we have decision making. Logical decision making involves considering relevant information, weighing pros and cons, and making choices that align with one's goals and values. It minimizes the influence of emotional bias. I'm gonna read that again. Logical decision making involves considering relevant information, weighing pros and cons, and making choices that align with one's goals and values. It minimizes the influence of emotional bias. Just like I was talking about at the beginning, logical viewpoints have little to no connectivity to emotional viewpoints. You see what I'm saying? Two totally different things, right? Now, you could be saying, how come you say little to no, right? Well, like I was saying at number 4, consistency, right? If you are consistently thinking of things from a logical viewpoint, that consistency could then affect your emotional viewpoint when it comes, because your emotional viewpoint will be tuned more to a logical one. You see what I'm saying? For instance, normally they always say men are more logical than women. Well, technically it depends on the men and it depends on the women that you're talking about. So you can't just say one's more emotional than the other, because depending on their experiences and you know, what they went through in life, not everybody's always emotional, not everybody's always logical. You see what I'm saying? So understand that we're all individuals, and you got to give people a chance to prove why they're logical or prove why they're emotional, prove why they're smart or prove why they're dumb or uneducated. You know what I mean? So at number 7, we have effective communication. Effective communication. Logical individuals are often effective communicators. They can express ideas clearly, presenting arguments passively and persuasively, and engaging in discussions with a focus on the reasoned explanation. Basically, without all those fuck-ass complicated words, they use logical and factual statements to back their explanations, right? Which make them sound very reasonable and very persuasive. Because, and this is a big thing I have to be able to fucking remember and like implement in my life, bro. Like, whenever you're explaining yourself and you're highly invested, and sometimes when you become highly invested, you become highly emotional, you know, especially in the black communities, we start to yell, you know, and it's not really because we're aggressive, but because we're passionate. You see what I'm saying? I, for one, be doing the shit, but you sometimes just gotta calmly communicate effectively. You know what I'm saying? Because some people may respond to calmness to a more effective viewpoint as opposed to an aggressive viewpoint. You know, when you start to, you know, get a little bit louder, you know what I mean, start moving a little bit more, using your hands more when you're talking, things like that. So at number 8, we have understanding cause and effect, and this is probably where we're gonna call it, right? At number 8, we have understanding cause and effect. Logical thinking includes an understanding of cause and effect relations. Individuals who think logically can trace the consequences of actions and events, anticipating outcomes based on logical connection. Logical thinking includes an understanding of cause and effect relations. Individuals who think logically can trace the consequences of actions and events, anticipating outcomes based on logical connections. Basically what he's saying is chronological order, right? If this happens, then this happens, and if this happens, then this may happen, and if this does happen, then this will be a result. Now, we may just be at the first two, this and this happening, but if we understand like logically what's happening, we can beat the ending result and change it, you know, because that's usually everyone's goal, right? I want to become successful. How do I get there? Well, you have to plan, you have to organize that plan, and then you have to execute that plan. And if that plan is looking like it's not going to be able to be executed on time, well, you're probably going to have to make another, like an additional plan, you know, to complement the one before to get to the original result that you want to get to, or to get to a result that is just as good, if not better, than your original result that you had for your original plan. You see what I'm saying? So understanding the cause and effect is really good, because if you can trace the sequences of these actions or events, then you're going to be that much more better in anticipating the outcome based on those logical connections. You see what I'm saying? Now, in this video, I'll probably sound a little bit more monotoned and a little bit more all over the place than usual. And I'm being honest with you, especially because we're coming to an end. You know, I think I'm hitting that little divot, you know, that they say. I mean, I'm just, you know, questioning everything that I do type shit, and you know, really wondering what it's all for type shit, and really, you know, trying to see the results, and well, not really the results, but the end goal of like why I talk about all this stuff, why I do all this stuff, just trying to become more precise in myself. And I just want to be honest with you guys and tell y'all, just keep going, do your best just to keep going. You're gonna have days like this where you may be a little bit more down than usual, but it's up to you to continuously have the discipline to keep yourself in the right mindset to prosper in the areas that you truly want to prosper in, and do the things that you truly want to do in life. Because I tell myself to help myself with the discipline and consistency of what I'm doing, and and you know, telling myself this is what I like to do, you know what I mean? Because what I like to do is probably gonna evolve just like me, you know what I mean? Meaning it's gonna change. So what I like is gonna change along with me. I'm gonna change. So like, all I can tell you is do your best to stay consistent so that you're able to look back and say that I have no regret. Because that's one of the biggest things I want to help. Was one of the biggest things I want to help people with, because I recently got down to the one of the other things I like to help people with, which is helping them recognize their ignorance. And I say that because, let me go ahead and write this down. I say that because ignorance is bliss, and everybody understands that when we're bliss, we're happy. 9 times out of 10, if we're happy, we're probably being ignorant to the true task at hand, what's really probably happening. And we're just trying to focus on our own happiness, and that's all good. But try to kill multiple birds with that one stone of happiness, right? And try to do good while you're doing it, because shit gets hard, shit gets slow, and sometimes everybody needs to pick me up. So if you got to this point, I want to tell you thank you, and I really appreciate you. And one day I hope we get to meet in person if we haven't already met in person. And y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in.